Cane Toads by Janet Ollerenshaw. Narrated by Tom Fria. Chapter 1. The screen stared blankly at her unseeing eyes as she reflected on her turmoil of inner thoughts and wondered yet again what exactly she was supposed to be doing here, in this little piece of so-called paradise, in the back of beyond. It was difficult to remember a time before this without the red-hot knives of agonizing recollections searing her heart and mind. It was easier to shut the memories out, or to lock them in and throw away the key. "That's not healthy, Mom," she heard her daughter say. "You have to face the reality and deal with it." But how? How was she to deal with the awful reality of this, the reality that threatened to destroy her? No, she would not face it. She would leave it locked away with what was left of her broken heart. "I don't think you should run away and hide in that God-forsaken place." Rupert had been rather more forthright in his criticism of her announced intention. Her son always spoke his mind without much concern for the reaction of the recipient of his opinions. Her protests of it being a retreat, not far from civilization, with internet and good phone reception and other residents nearby, should she need any assistance with anything at all, fell on deaf and uncompromising ears. With admonishments and dire warnings ringing in her head, she had packed her little car with everything she thought she might need for an extended stay. She had hugged her children goodbye, knowing that they would soon set off for their respective homes overseas, and, together with Mop the kitten and Bucket the dog, began her lonely adventure on the path to finding some sort of reconciliation in her new-found aloneness. That had been 10 days ago. Had she made any progress at all? She very much doubted it, although the tiny cottage was beginning to feel more homely, and on the rare occasions that sun made a somewhat watery appearance, she caught glimpses of an attractive outside. Up to now she had only ventured as far as the end of the lane by which she had made her entrance, and that only to post an essential letter or two in the precariously balanced post-box, and to allow Bucket to relieve himself and to stretch his legs. The inclemency of the weather had allowed her to hide away and avoid the inevitable meeting and introduction to the other residents in this close-knit community. It was a seclusion she appreciated, not wanting to explain herself any more than she was obliged to. People were invariably judgmental, and the ensuing expressions of sorrow and consolation were always empty and meaningless from anyone who hadn't known him. Them. Other people could never understand or imagine the unity that made them one. Rob and Jenna Davis, inseparable, invisible, always together, or so she had thought. A single tear escaped from the corner of her eye, and she brushed it away angrily. The time for tears had quickly passed. They were pointless and a waste of good tissues. Nothing was going to bring him back now. Bucket arose from his basket and shook himself noisily, his long, shaggy coat rippling with his movements, and leaving traces of fine hair falling behind him as he padded across the room to place his large head on his mistress's knee. "Yes, good boy," she crooned. "We'll go now. Enough of this wallowing. It's time I did something useful with myself whilst I am here." A little later 2 figures could be seen making their way along the snowy and slippery lane. The upright one plodded hesitantly and carefully, whilst the 4-legged one bounded confidently backwards and forwards, chasing unidentified nothings in and out of the hedges and undergrowth. Behind them, unseen and padding softly and daintily, a second 4-legged
Sample complete. Ready to continue?